Hey guys, MA Fish Guy here. I know it's been a little bit, but doing some updates to the fish room, kind of playing around with some things. I'm going to try something new. I'm kind of taking some combined ideas from people I've seen on YouTube and fish rooms I've toured and combining it into one. So the biggest thing that I'm coming across when doing guppies is I pick too many strains. Go figure. That's the ADHD in me coming out. I jump into everything. So I'm narrowing it down, but I also, instead of having the females take up one 10-gallon tank for birthing, we're going to try something different. And a lot of the times, a lot of these guppy breeders are using a tote or like a shoebox tote or something small for the babies for the first couple of weeks. And they even use it for birthing as well. Now, what I'm talking about is these guys right here. Now, these are totes, and I've actually equipped them with a cooler drain. So, or like a, yeah, pretty much a cooler drain. So you can just open it up and the water comes out. So the idea behind this is it gives me the ability to do a water change pretty quickly and then just add water on top. Now, we're trying these guys out. I have tiny little Medaka fry. Holy cow, the camera actually focused in on them for once. That's a first. Now we've got a bunch of them swimming around in here. But the problem is leaving that stand there takes up quite a bit of room in the aquariums. You're trying to maneuver around it. It's really not ideal. It really kind of cuts down to some of the fish tanks I have access to. And I know right now it's a mess, but having to walk from over there over to here, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're feeding brine shrimp and stuff like that and you're walking down through the tanks, it does become a hassle. So what I'm looking at doing, and I'll be kind of cutting this video and then I'll be doing it, but here's what I'm looking to do. So up here, I have the 2x4s going, or not 2x4s, I'm gonna have 2x4s going across, but I have the cinder blocks going. I'll be taking that board out and propping that pump up on top of the boards as well. Then what I'm gonna be doing is taking these shoebox totes and lining them all across the top. And what's gonna be interesting is I'm going to take each one, I'm hoping it lines up correctly, and each shoebox tote is going to go over a fish tank, or the two of them go over a fish tank. We'll see what fits. But the idea is I can drain those into the tanks down below and not have to worry about it. Or if that doesn't work out, we'll hang them off a little bit, and that way we can just drain them into a bucket and call it a day. So what I'm trying to do is maximize the amount of tanks in here, and I really don't want to do like gallon mason jars, stuff like that I've seen other ones. It may work for others. I just don't like so much stuff being in here, and I'm afraid that those might get tipped over. I do have dogs that come in and out of here, so that might be an issue, and I'm just trying to avoid that. Next, the other thing I'm doing, but I'm not quite sure, is because I have this awesome guppy rack banner, is doing the same thing above here. But the only problem with that is I would lose this tank, and I really don't want to lose a tank. So for right now, we're going to see how it works behind me and go from there. The next thing that I have is the 120 right here. Now this tank, it eats up a big footprint. And again, there's a lot of unused property above it. So what I'm thinking about doing, and I've got to kind of figure out what size cinder blocks I may need, or if I can just build it out of the wood. But this would allow me to do more shoebox totes over this. Now trust me, I thought about doing 10-gallon fish tanks, but that makes me nervous, because what happens if that board gives out, or a tank breaks, or something catastrophic happens, and it drops down into the 120 and breaks that glass? I don't want a 10-gallon tank breaking and turning into 200 gallons of a nightmare. None of us really want that. So, figure with the shoebox totes, it's not a lot of weight. If something falls, it's not going to be a big deal. I can even upgrade into bigger totes eventually and use that as well. So I'm going to pause the video right here. I'm going to move some things, and we're going to put some of those 2x4s up on top and see what happens. Alright, we've got some of the wood up there, so next we're just going to cut this air pump loose from the cinder block so we can adjust it. Alright, so the big thing I had to keep an eye on was, can those open and stay open? And they do. The only one I'm going to have to change out is this one right here, but it's just a bigger one that I use, so I'll be swapping that out. Alright, so we have the pump all secured, zip tied. I put this little piece of flooring for what I use for my kitchen as a scrap piece. That way it's not sitting directly on to the wood, just because this does get warm, just to kind of protect the wood or create any kind of barrier from any kind of charring or something like that, and the squeaky chair below me. So we're going to secure that. Next, I'm just going to line up the boards, so that way I know everything's good to go. And then we are going to start putting the totes up, or even drilling some of them. I think if I have some of the extra cooler plugs. Alright, so what I'll be using is one of these shoebox totes. Sterilite is the brand I'm looking off, because there's this is part of a 10-pack, so only one of them came with a sticker on it. These are a 6-quart, 5.7 liters. So here's what I'm going to do to drill a hole into it for one of these. So these are what you'd use for like a cooler or a water jug or anything like that. So what I'm doing is taking a 5/8 inch drill bit. We are going to and it really doesn't take a whole lot. The only thing you really want to keep an eye on is you don't want to go too low, because there is a part that screws onto it that if you go too low, you're actually going to run into the bottom of the tote, and that's going to be an issue, and then pretty much the tote is shot. So what I do is I just kind of line up. I've done a couple of these, so if you think you're up high enough, go a little bit higher. So we're just going to drill in. Now what I do recommend is after you're done with this, you are going to want to rinse it out. You're going to have plastic pieces in it, things like that. So let's take this apart. Now what I do like about this is it comes with 2 gaskets. I thought I only had one for a second. So you're going to have these washers right here. The first one is going to go between that right there, as I drop the other one. So next you're just going to insert this into it. Now you can go a size up, and that way all you have to do is push it into it, but I would actually like to screw it into the actual tote, because that kind of gives me a better feeling. It's a much tighter fit, which is a lot better. So we're just screwing this in, and you're going to want it to be a little bit loose, because if you tighten it too much, what happens is when you go to tighten this the final amount, it doesn't always work as well. So next you're going to put this washer inside here. Now what I was saying, so like I said, if you go too low, then this will interfere with the bottom of the tote, and that's going to be an issue. And there's only so much that you can screw this side in before you start wrecking it. Or if you're screwing it too tight, don't make the same mistake I did, and you're reaming on this. These can break, and they snap off relatively easy when you're trying to put a bunch of force behind it. I'm trying to put it in. So the part I was talking about, so once you tighten this as tight as you can, this is when you're going to need to actually use the actual fountain or faucet part and screw it in. Once you get it as tight as you can, that's when you're just going to basically twist it ever so gently, because you do it too tight, like I said, and you'll bust this off. So right here you have the tote, has the faucet on it. We're going to put it up top and see what it looks like. So we're going to put it up here. Sits actually pretty well on the boards from what I can see from here, but it looks like we should easily be able to do 1 per tank, if not 2 per 1 tank for some of them, not all of them. But judging by that, we should easily be able to get, I'd say, at least 8 or 9 of them up there. Let's see. All right, so let's line them up. Yes, like I said, some of these might be an issue, or I might have to drill them off to the side a little bit, which is no big deal. So I even could drill it off on like the left side or the right side, that way to make sure that everything is good to go. Yeah, so roughly about 8 of them up there, and I'll have to play around with them a little bit with the cords. That kind of creates a little pocket over there, which I can fix once I move the cords. Yeah, so I mean, what I like about it too is that's the warmest part of the room. So right up there, it's actually 70 degrees. So right now it's 74.8. The lowest it got, and I was trying something with the heater, was 71.1, and the highest it's getting is 77.2. So with the water being the warmest up there, the hot air stays up there. I have my ceilings insulated with rock wool insulation on top of the drop tiles, so that way there's not a whole lot of heat exchange, or what I can cut down, I cut down. So we're going to finish ordering the drains, because I need about 8 more. We'll fill these up, rinse them out really good, wash them out really good, let them start sitting, and the next thing I'll have to do is either drill more lines or run a separate air pump up there. But I think at this point, if I've got the power from the air pump and the air to do it, I'm just going to use air stones up there, and I could even try something. I might even see if I can just tap off and do a T-valve and see if I can tap off of just one of the lines to use for the totes with just an air stone in it, because that would make things much easier, not having to re-drill 8 to 10 different holes for that. But we'll kind of see and play with that and see what works. So that is it, guys, for now. As I get more updates on this, I will post it. But if you're looking for something new, if you have any comments that you've done with raising guppy fry or babies, anything like that, let me know. Like I said, these are temporary. I can't stress that enough. They're temporary. They're going to be for like a week to 3 weeks. It's best to raise the babies in a smaller environment, so that way you can control their food, they can find the food more easily, and they're not spending so much energy swimming around trying to find it. Plus, this way I can have a separate birthing area for the females. That way I can hopefully get the maximum amount of fry survival that I can. But like I said, temporary, because I know people will be coming out saying those are too small, you can't do that. It's just to raise them in. As soon as the babies are big enough, we're having some 10-gallon tanks ready to go for them. We'll have some grow out 40s. And with the springtime finally upon us, we'll be going into tub season. So some of these will be going outside. I'm really trying to narrow it down to the 2 or 3 strains that I'm looking to do. But that's tough. That really is tough. When you take a room full of beautiful, beautiful guppies, and you take a world full of beautiful guppies, and you try to narrow it down to 2 or 3 that interest you, good luck with that. I'm looking for something that develops fast, that's beautiful coloration, that pops off of the black aquariums, I'm still a sucker for those swords for some reason, but I gotta find one that I like. I don't so much like the big multicolors, and I'm also beginning to really like a lot of the short fin guppies, like your pintails, or your, I think it's called a spear tail, and some of like your panda guppies are just the smaller, shorter finnage. I just feel like they look a lot nicer to me for some reason. So thank you guys for watching. I know it's a long video. If you've held on this long, I appreciate it immensely. So thank you for watching. There'll be more updates coming soon. I'll leave you with a beautiful little tour of just some of the fish.